Hello and welcome to another Analysis Behind the News, where we provide the perspective that you can use to help save American liberty and independence. We only have one action item for you today, so please stay tuned. Now that the media has had the evening to digest the State of the Union speech, you can certainly find their reaction, and it's highly predictable. In a nutshell, reactions fall along partisan lines. The big media no longer hides its bias. Go to any of the news aggregators and look at the headlines. Let me give you some examples. When you go to the Drudge Report, here's what they've got listed. Pelosi frowns at call for working together. Guterres, triggered by USA chants, flees House chamber. Black Dems' stoned-face reaction to news of low black unemployment. CNN, Melania wearing white to protest her husband. ABC News, divisive, gloomy, sad. MSNBC, triggered by the word family. You go to What Finger News, and they've got listed here from Newsbusters. Chuck Todd, Trump's speech set things back, offended Democrats. Washington Times, AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka, working people don't see optimism that Trump described in State of the Union. Washington Examiner, Sarah Sanders, Nancy Pelosi symbolizes the bitterness of Democrats. Daily Caller, watched Joe Manchin praise Trump and then destroy disrespectful Dems. Daily Wire, Democrats stew in hatred, refuse to applaud democracy and freedom. And you'll like this one. Google News, from the Washington Post, the Daily 202, State of the Union underscores why Trump is his own worst enemy. From the New York Times, Trump sands down the edges, at least for a night. And then the Atlantic, the State of the Union is unrecognizable. This from NBC News, Democrats' response to Trump proves they aren't interested in improving American lives. So, it's all over the place. Immediate reaction by Fox was a positive one, however, and a CBS poll detected that 3/4 of Americans thought that the speech was good, and 80% thought that, well, the president was trying to unite the country. And although this is mostly political theater, the Constitution actually requires the president to do this. So if you look at Article 2, Section 3, it states, "He shall from time to time give to Congress information of the State of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient." And that's what he did. But to boil down the speech, President Trump focused on Americans as a whole, mentioning many economic high points, including tax reform, higher wages, more manufacturing, increased domestic corporate investment, tax cut bonuses for 3 million American workers, decreased regulations, and historic unemployment claims, especially for African Americans and Hispanic Americans. And that was the only time that he mentioned specific races of Americans. The rest of the speech was geared not to specific races, classes, or creeds, but rather to Americans as a whole. In what he deemed our new American moment, he said there has never been a better time to start living the American dream. Now, as you would expect, the political theater of the evening demanded that those in attendance either clap, stand, or stew in their seats, depending on their acceptance level of President Trump's message. So many times, Republicans were on their feet, Democrats were fixed to their chairs, and those watching the speech from afar were able to practice the fine art of reading body language and facial expressions, of which the media ensured viewers saw the reaction, no matter how immature or dramatic they may have been. The high point of the speech for Constitutionalists came when he mentioned, "Working with the Senate, we are appointing judges who will interpret the Constitution as written, including a great new Supreme Court justice and more circuit court judges than any new administration in the history of our country." Well, isn't that great? However, it also shows how low we have sunk, as every judge ought to be obeying the Constitution as written and not relying upon mountains of unjust legal precedents. In fact, every American ought to be looking at the speech and the actions of Congress, the presidential administration, and the judiciary through the lens of the Constitution. For, in so doing, we find some troubling parts of the speech, including continuing the failed wars on drugs and terrorism, providing amnesty, which has been proven to be an incentive for illegal aliens to come here instead of a deterrent, and to continue the unconstitutional programs of building infrastructure, federal education, as well as being involved in the areas of food and drugs. And looking at all the reactions to the speech, we see that America means so many things to so many people. But America must be looked at in the proper perspective. We were founded to have government instituted by man to protect our God-given rights. Government is not to provide us with anything, as it cannot produce anything. Rather, it takes from the majority to give to a minority. To put that in perspective, look at the reactions of those in attendance and those in the media. Many of them look to government for guidance, to problem solve, and to provide. Yet, a North Korean defector stole the show last night when Mr. Trump explained how Mr. Ji Sung-ho had an arduous journey across thousands of miles on crutches in order to find freedom. As Mr. Trump explained, Sung-ho's story is a testament to the yearning of every human soul to live in freedom. It was that same yearning for freedom that nearly 250 years ago gave birth to a special place called America. It was a small cluster of colonies caught between a great ocean and a vast wilderness. It was home to an incredible people with a revolutionary idea that they could rule themselves. They could chart their own destiny, and that together they could light up the entire world. Indeed, they charted their own destiny, but with the help of less government, more responsibility, and God's guidance. Together, we see a glimmer of hope that federal tyranny is being pushed back into its unconstitutional box. But the Constitution today continues a daily attack from those who either want to rewrite it or who want to continue to ignore its limitations. If we are to protect and restore these limitations, we the people must arise and be active. The John Birch Society has built a solid plan around the advice of Thomas Jefferson, who wrote that I know of no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion. We have the tools, the plan, and the experience to help you make America great again. All we need is you. So, action item number 1, apply for membership today at jbs.org. Once you do so, you'll learn of local opportunities in the area from your coordinator. So until next time, we'll see you then. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Click here to watch more videos, and click here to visit our site.